Good morning, everyone. Beautiful to see you this morning. Welcome back, Laura. Good to see you. And Blima in San Diego. Welcome, welcome. Toby and Rena. China Bear is somewhere there, not quite on your screen, but there you are. And Rivka and Michelle. I see Tracy is here. Anna Ale is here. I know you have to leave early today. And Janine Ora. And of course, Yochanan is holding down the fort here for all of us. Welcome. Welcome. Good morning, Peggy and Neshama. We're going to continue with this practice we've been doing for several weeks now. It's this hand washing. Welcome, Herb. Good morning. But it's so much more than hand washing because it's about Chokhmah. It's about awakening our wisdom. It's about waking up in a state of wisdom. Good morning, Janice. Good to see you. And Dorit is here, continuing to send lots of healing energy to Dorit. I'm going to share my screen and give us the words again so that we can actually get the words a little bit more in our bodies. So here's that slide that has the words on it. Reshit Chokhmah Yirat Hashem. The beginning of wisdom is the awe of oneness, the awesomeness of oneness. Seichel Tov L'chol Oseihem. And that allows us to have good intelligence, to make intelligent choices in what we do during the day, in our actions. Tehilato omedet la'ad. And when we are able to perceive this, there is a praise, an uplift of life that happens, that we are witnesses to, that stands us in good stead. Omedet, that stands us in good stead. And then we are able to Baruch Shem Kevod, to receive the blessing of presence that is woven into all of our material lives and through our bodies. From wisdom to presence, from Chokhmah to Malchut. And this is the Kabbalistic path. And sometimes it goes from Malchut up to, or deep into Chokhmah. So try this with me. We'll just kind of do it one line at a time, and then we'll add some body movement. Reshit Chokhmah Yirat Hashem. Let's do that line again. Reshit Chokhmah Yirat Hashem. Seichel Tov L'chol Oseihem. And that line again. Seichel Tov L'chol Oseihem. Tehilato omedet la'ad. That's the line about standing us in good stead. Omedet. She stands. She stands us in a place of witness, la'ad. Tehilato omedet la'ad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto le'olam va'ed. That's a familiar line. We can do that with our Shema. Let's try the whole thing a few times. Reshit Chokhmah Yirat Hashem. Seichel Tov L'chol Oseihem. Tehilato עומדת לעד ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ראשית חוכמה יראת השם, שכל טוב לכל עושיהם, תהילתו עומדת לעד ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ראשית חוכמה יראת השם, שכל טוב לכל עושיהם, תהילתו עומדת לעד ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. Great. So we're going to try this with movement as we've been doing. So just come back together here. So I'm going to read what I read last week, and then we'll do our song again, just beginning to warm our hands up. And we'll be playing and experimenting again today with this connection between hands and heart as we move into this week's Parsha, the Parashat Truma, the lifting up of things into holy space, to create holy space. And I'm going to read again this beautiful piece by Toni Morrison that we read last week. This is such an amazing contemporary take on the ancient prayer that's in our liturgy, Asher Yatzar. So there is a prayer in the morning blessings where we praise the one who has created the body in wisdom, with all of its tiny openings and apertures, and that are somehow miraculously, much of the time, know how to work on their own without us even paying attention to it. So let's feel where this takes you, and I invite you to move with it, to follow Toni Morrison's beautiful instructions. This is from the book Beloved. Love your hands. Raise them up. This is Larum, Truma. Raise them up. And she says, kiss them. What's that like? To connect your lips and your hands. Touch others with them. So other parts of yourself, I would say, since we're mostly here on our own today. Or maybe touch things in your space, just to wake up that sense of touch, different textures. And then she says, pat them together and stroke them on your face, bringing the heart energy that's expressed through our hands to our own bodies. This, she says, is flesh that needs to be loved. So I'm just, won't read the whole rest of it today, but just take another moment here to love your own flesh with your hands, and to begin to bring in the other parts of you, feet and legs and belly and back. And where do your hands want to go to stroke and to pat, and to bring that heart energy, that loving energy of your own core to every cell, every part of your body today. And even if there are places that are painful or don't feel like they're working in the way that you would wish that they would serve you, maybe especially to those places, bringing this loving touch. And this blessing in our liturgy ends with this verse, Baruch atah havaya, this blessing, this chatima. Maybe you want to repeat this with me. Baruch atah havaya, rofei kol basar, umafli la'asot. A wellspring of blessings are you, beingness, source of this body, healer of all flesh, who does miracles. And we'll just now slide your hand up one arm, Rishit Chochmah, and then the back of that arm, Yirat Hashem, the other arm, Seichel Tov, L'chol Osehem, Tehilato, Omeret La'ad, and then lift up those living waters, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, and pour them right down through your core. Leolam Vaed, Rishit Chochmah, Yirat Hashem, Seichel Tov, L'chol Osehem, Tehilato, Omeret La'ad. Lift them up. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Vaed. Just take a moment to feel your whole body. Your whole body breathing, and your whole body as a set of inner spaces. That's what that prayer is about in our liturgy. Nikavim, nikavim, chalulim, chalulim. The inner spaces, the inner compartments that are our physical selves and our spirit containers. Just allowing your attention to flow where it will in your body. As we just bring our minds a little bit into this idea of holy container, which is what this week's Torah is about, Parashat Truma. God says to Moses is still up on the mountain receiving instructions, Asuli mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham, make me a sanctuary. And how is the sanctuary to be made? And what is this about? What is this teaching us about healing? So the sanctuary, the holy space, we talked last week about we space, the field that's created by our connections with one another, that we connect our intentionality, our prayers. And there's a group field that's created. And it seems to me that's exactly what the divine is coming through Moses, is saying, this is what's needed now to begin to transform these slaves into a holy people, a people that is in touch with holiness, that lives in a space of connection, a we space. And how do we do that? We do that by asking them for truma. Truma comes from the word, the Hebrew verb root, larum, to elevate, to lift up. And people are being asked to take things that they own, possessions, and to donate them, and in a sense to elevate the vibration from their personal possession to something that is going to create this we space, this communal space that will be a dwelling place for the divine. And of course it's a little odd because we know the divine dwells everywhere, But what does it mean to make visible a structure that magnetizes such a space, that magnetizes such energy? And how does the act of giving, of raising up the material, affect our hearts, our heart space? So Herb, one of our resident poets, who is really on a roll this year, has a beautiful poem, a Truma poem. So if you'd share that poem with us, and we will receive that into our body spaces. Herb.
My honor. I wouldn't say that I'm on a roll. I'm more on a scroll. The Torah. Was it the soundless Aleph that spoke to Moses, calling the Israelites to bring the gifts of precious metals, colorful yarns, rare animal skins, sweet oils, and beautiful stones? Or was it our need to make manifest what is part of all that is, but is so vast, so filled with mystery, so essential that it goes unnoticed by many? Just as we'll learn to place the symbol of a mezuzah on our doorposts, the symbol of tefillin on our foreheads and arms to remind us of the oneness of all, we're instructed to build a sanctuary and carry it with us in our wanderings through life's wilderness. We get detailed building plans on how to build a home for the one that is our home. What's unique in these instructions, as we will learn, is that our first guidance is to offer the gift of bringing gifts to comprise the Mishkan to all who are moved to contribute. Later, this will be refined to a half shekel each, so that as we build the Mishkan, we are building community, neither owned nor controlled by anyone save the one, with no one's name on its doors except the name, Shekhinah, who is part of our innermost selves, a space built by all our gifts, a space that is only complete when it contains the gift of each of us.
Amen. And just receiving Herb's gift. When I send out recordings of our gatherings, I always send out these readings that happen, Herb's poems, other poems that have been read, and so you'll have this. You can read it and bring it into your Shabbat. So I want to suggest that this power of truma, of donation, of generosity that creates, through which we co-create community, that within this we each become, as Herb has hinted at in this beautiful poem, we each become a Mishkan, we each recognize ourselves as the Mishkan that we are. And if our body is indeed a Mikdash, that's another name. So Mishkan comes from the word for Shekhinah, dwelling, indwelling. Mikdash comes from the word for holy, Kadosh. They're both words that refer to this space. And if our bodies then is a Mikdash, then perhaps we can think of our hearts as the Holy of Holies, Kodesh Kadashim. And we've done a practice, not for quite a while in this group, but we've done a practice that I'd like to bring back of the four-chambered heart. So physically, our physical hearts have four rooms in them, 4 chambers. And those chambers direct the flow of the life-giving blood through the heart. So if you want to kind of do this with me, I'll be doing it opposite of you. That's how it shows up on the screen. But so I'm starting with the right side of my heart. the upper chamber. The blood comes from the body and flows in, and then it flows down to the lower right chamber, and from there it's pumped to your lungs. And in the lungs, so it goes out, it receives fresh oxygen, gives up its carbon dioxide, and then it's pumped back to the upper left chamber, the oxygenated blood. And then it flows down to the lower left, which is the strongest, most muscular chamber. And the lower left chamber pumps it out through your aorta, and then it spreads into different channels to nourish your entire body, out to the capillary beds, to the cells, and then flows back into the veins and back up, and eventually will come back to the upper right. So you can just trace that pathway with me. Right, upper, right, lower, out to the lungs, back to the upper left, lower left, and then out to the body. Beautiful. And so I want to invite you to think about what are the qualities of each of these chambers that you want to evoke today. We've done different ones of the Sefirot in the past, and I will offer 4 qualities for today, but just take a moment with your own heart as you feel into this pathway. What are the qualities of your Holy of Holies? Perhaps 4 qualities, perhaps it's just one quality that fills all 4 chambers as the life-giving fluid circulates, the lifeblood circulates through your Holy of Holies. And perhaps whatever quality or qualities come forward for you, with what would I like to fill my heart on this Shabbos, and send that out into my holy Mishkan, and then out into my world, the world, and perhaps beyond Shabbat into the week. I'm going to suggest we play together maybe with these 4. So these are Sefirot, starting as we did earlier with wisdom. So upper right, we bring in Chokhmah, and then down to Chesed. So that's the way they are in the tree of life. Chokhmah is the upper father, feeding Chesed on the right side of the body. And then the left side, I'm going to suggest that we have Bina and Gevura. Gevura being strength, that will be the strongest chamber, the lower left ventricle of the heart. So Chokhmah, Chesed, Bina, Gevura. And in English, this would be wisdom, wise and loving, clear and strong. So we have our little healing song. I'm just going to chant it a few times. Invite you to chant with me if you want to trace the pathway as we chant. And otherwise, you can just sort of receive this into your heart. Chokhmah, Chesed, Bina, Gevura. Chokhmah, Chesed, Bina, Gevura. Wise and loving, clear and strong. Wise and loving, clear and strong. Chokhmah, Chochmah Chesed Bina Gevurah. Chochmah Chesed Bina Gevurah. Wise and loving, clear and strong. Light, 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 one last. Wise and loving, clear and strong. Wise and loving, clear and strong. From this we space, place of connection, sense of holy space, that vibration that brings us together, the parts of ourselves and in connection with each other. Now connecting this holy of holy heart space with your head space, we chant the witnessing of oneness together. Shema Yisrael Havaya Havaya Echad. And connecting heart with belly space now, that gut brain, bringing that gut brain that sometimes keeps us separate and fearful, we bring that into connection with the wisdom, the strength, the clarity of our Holy of Holies. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. A little bit later, I'm going to just share a reading by the great Buddhist teacher of mindfulness, Thich Nhat Hanh, who passed away just a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. And Thich Nhat Hanh teaches so much about how when we can find our inner wisdom, our inner peace, our inner connectedness, that's when we can be most effective at bringing healing into the world, bringing peace, shlemut, shalom, wholeness. So as we find that holy space, mikdash, that our bodies, our minds, and spirits are as we come into unity, we share that we space with others in our lives, and of course with ourselves. We'll sing the healing song that Yochanan has placed the words for into the chat that we've been chanting. Anna Elna Rifana Anna Elna Rifana. This is not the words that are in the chat. It's all right. This is our old healing song. It's the one that came through today. Anna Elna Rifana Anna Elna Rifana. Heal our bodies, open our hearts, awaken our minds. Heal our bodies, open our hearts, awaken our minds. Shekhinah. So sharing names now in the chat, or unmute and let us hear the names that you are bringing present into our we space, our holy space today.
Sam Lucero, Rebecca Fernando, and Dan.
Patricia Delic, Ari Cohen, Jane Ariel, Danny Cohen.
Rod family.
Barbara Moss, Barbara Carr, Craig Ackerson.
One in this healing circle who needs healing in body, mind, and spirit. Chana Rivka Bati and Doni Ruach Reed.
My friend Ida Mildenberg, my sister Pam Ullman, my brother Owen Siegel, my cousin Sid Cream.
Daughters Terry Beth and Cookie, friends Dima.
Thank you, Gloria. I want to also bring Hannah Chaya Bat Baruch, Bracha, Annette Silver, mother of our friend Zelig Golden, Devora Root, Bat Hannah, Debbie Barkin, David Ben Natan, Melissa Koner, Harav Michael Ben Yosef Chaim Vebela, Rabbi Michael Lerner, Sadiq Ben Moshe Valea, Charles Falk, Tova Bat Esther Ushmuel, Toby Farash, Dorit Steinberg, Amanda Bat Ella, Chava Rachel Bat Sheva, Rebbetzin Eve Ilson, Yehudis Bat Fegela, Eileen Serlin, Nishama Shalvi, Jen Wolf, Sulam Susan Freundlich, Yishaya Yiska Bat Dvora, Gittel Meir, Danielle Rosenman, Conrad Wiedemann, Israel Larry Vaughn, Harav Miriam Yael Bat Sarah, Rabbi Marsha Prager, Hechazan Yaakov Sender Ben Moshe, Julie Petruski, Aziza Bat Miriam V'Harav Yonatan, Miriam Bat Avraham V'Sara, Rabbi Shaya Eisenberg, Susan Felix, Peter Schwab, Rabbi Ann Brenner, Cantor Robert Michael Esformis, Harav Saralea Mazel Tov, Rabbi Steve Robbins, Malka Davida HaKohen Bar Hadassah, Barbara Zilber, Maury Zilber, Shal Yidel Ben Chaya, Razel, Stephen Schaffer. All those who have died of COVID in this last week in particular, and in this past 2 years of pandemic. I'm sorry, those who are ill, we're not yet to those who have passed. Heal their bodies, open their hearts, awaken their minds. Heal our bodies, open our hearts, awaken our minds. Shekhinah. So I think it was a bit of a slip, a Freudian slip there that I said all those who have passed, because the veils feel very thin right now. The veils between the living and the non-living feel very thin. So let us now focus on those souls who are no longer in body, who have re-entered that undifferentiated, unbounded space of the Ein Sof, who are moving through perhaps a life review as their souls reconnect with a much greater space. And if you would like to bring names, please do unmute and say the names of those for whom you're saying Kaddish today.
Our beloved Chandana Becker.
My mother, Ruth Berger, and it is my father, Jerome Berger's 25th yahrzeit today.
My mother, Harriet Steinberg.
My father, Alfred Levy's 16th yahrzeit will be next week.
My father, Jerry Kravitz, whose secular birthday was yesterday. Sweet man.
My beloved mother-in-law, Ann Carson.
Ellen Malamed, a dear friend whose first yahrzeit was on Monday night / Tuesday morning. My great grandma, Molly, and my dad, Jerry Block.
Names are coming into the chat as well. Elizabeth's father's 48th yahrzeit next week. Julie's father, Nathan. And also remembering Harav Aharon ben Tova, Rabbi Art Levine, Nechazan Shlomo Natan ben Menachem Mendel and Nechama, Cantor Richard Kaplan, Chetana Yehudi Carol Michan, Nisan Lev ben Meir, Dvorah Gittel, Ned Leibowitz, Dale Boland, Nancy Leora Levy, Moish Estrin, and yes, all of those who have died of COVID in this past week in particular. We hold and we elevate and raise up their souls. And if you would like to change your body position to honor this shift in consciousness and to unmute so that we can together say the Mourner's Kaddish, if you would like to do that. Mourners. Yitgadal, Kadash, Shmirabah, Malkuteh, Yitzhak v'yishtabach. Ar v'yitzlam v'yamken. Dar
Ose Shalom Bimrama. Shalom. O Israel. Yachol Yoshbei Bibur Amen.
Amen. We all who mourn find comfort even in the mystery that is beyond our understanding, that feels sometimes beyond control. Brother. We're just inviting everyone to mute for another couple of moments here as we kind of come in for a landing. Thich Nhat Hanh, I had the great pleasure and honor of doing a retreat with him a number of years ago, and with those who in his circle of monks and nuns who supported the work and gave over beautiful teachings and sang to us and invited us to release any remains of our ancestors that might be challenging us, to let those go back to the earth as we lifted up the spirits, the essences of our lineages, of our own lineages. We walked with him, did these amazing, perhaps some of you have done this, almost like a group flock of hundreds of people walking over the lawn of this campus where we were retreating. So in service of healing, it was hard to choose a little part to read with you, but this book is The Sun, My Heart from 1988. He published over 150 books. During his lifetime, he was a poet and really taught mindfulness I call him a Buddhist renewalist. He was a renewalist of Buddhism, exiled from his home country, really forced to live in the West for much of his life after he became persona non grata for going around the world, spreading word of what was happening in Vietnam and that both sides were abusing and killing and destroying, and how to bring peace, how to not perpetuate that conflict. And he was exiled and he lived in France and established a monastery there, taught mindfulness in a way that one could integrate it back into your own lineage traditions. So that was very powerful. The Sun, My Heart. Since we now realize that one is all is one in our bodies, let us go another step and meditate on the presence of the entire universe in ourselves. The big Mishkan. We know that if our heart stops beating, the flow of our life will stop. And so we cherish our heart very much. Yet we do not often take the time to notice that there are other things outside of our bodies that are also essential for our survival. Look at the immense light we call the sun. If it stops shining, the flow of our life will also stop. And so the sun is our second heart, our heart outside of our body. This immense heart gives all life on earth the warmth necessary for existence. Plants live thanks to the sun. Their leaves, I heard that in two ways. Plants live thanks to, because of the sun, and the life of plants is gratitude to the sun. Their leaves absorb the sun's energy, along with carbon dioxide from the air, to produce food for the tree, the flower, the plankton. And thanks to plants, we and other animals can live. All of us, people, animals, and plants, consume the sun directly and indirectly. We cannot begin to describe all the effects of the sun, that great heart outside of our body. In fact, our body is not limited to what lies inside the boundary of our skin. Our body is much greater, much more immense. If the layer of air around our earth disappears even for an instant, our life will end. There is no phenomenon in the universe that does not intimately concern us, from a pebble resting at the bottom of the ocean to the movement of a galaxy millions of light years away. The poet Walt Whitman said, "I believe a leaf of grass is no less than the journey work of the stars." These words are not philosophy. They come from the depths of his soul. He said, "I am large. I contain multitudes." So, from our inner heart to the great heart, to the Mishkan, the holy space, the Mikdash that is our entire universe and in which we participate. It is us. May you have a really blessed and beautiful Shabbat. And just invite you to unmute and to wish one another from this wee space of our Mikdash a Shabbat Shalom of peace and wholeness.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Thank you.
shalom, everyone.
Good
Happy
Shabbos.
Shabbos. Thank you, Rebbe.
Good
Thank you, everyone.
Shabbos.
Shalom, and thank you, thank you, thank you.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat
Shabbos.
shalom. Shabbat shalom, Dorit.
Continue to heal, dear Dorit.
Thank you, and I'm doing much better than a week ago.
Yay.
Yay.
Energy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.